Greetings, my name is Brian. Welcome to Killco Audio Musings for patrons of mine and anyone who happens to come across this. It is September 21st, 2023. I recently discovered I need to listen to my previous podcast before I make a new one. So this is the second attempt at going through what has been going on recently. As I talked about last week, Mama Killco did have surgery and everything is going smoothly thus far. So that's a big relief for me. As of activities that have been going on in my own life for the past week, God, it all goes by so fast, and I don't even know half of what has actually occurred. I can't say the throat problem I had is still, lingering a bit, but for the most part, it's gone away. I think part of why I'm feeling a little is because yesterday? I think yesterday. Yes, yesterday. There we go. I had to think about that one. I got my flu vaccine. Since I will be traveling in a couple weeks, well, less than a couple weeks now, I wanted to make sure I had at least that. I will very likely be getting the COVID vaccine when I return, just as a caution. Travel freaks me out, as I have mentioned before. As for impulse decisions and poor decision-making on my part, Roy of Aquavitae recently had a Patreon release of some Ardmurkin bottles. I believe it was Ardmurkin. I should look these things up before I start talking, but I don't, and I shouldn't look away from the microphone when I'm speaking, but I do. I purchased both bottles. There were two. They're both different. The price was outrageous. It was close to $300 US, and I am not certain about the exchange rate, but I will tell you that 90 pounds, and I'm not sure what that equates to in American dollars. I'm assuming close to 100. If not more, was simply for the shipping costs, because the world has lost its mind and everything costs more for no good reason. Part of that, of course, is the freight issues. I don't fully understand it. I might have talked about it before on my channel. But let's just say there are tariffs of some sort that should have been all gone now, but I think they are still in flux. So prices for overseas stuff are still outrageous. I don't know if they always were, because for most of my life, I never had to worry about it. I didn't know anyone overseas until now. I didn't order anything overseas. What I do want to point out is that even with the $300, as always, Mama and Papa Killco have fit the bill for that, and I will attempt to pay them back, hopefully when I do the fundraiser in November, again, Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month. That will help repair the damage done with this recent purchase. Besides that, the exercise has stayed the same. I have been going 3 times a week. I went earlier tonight. My arm was acting up, and how do I explain this one? My grip gets weird. I know the problem I have in my shoulder and my, left pectoral muscle and all that is somewhat nerve-based, and it was acting up a bit today. It doesn't hurt, really, but when I was trying to grip the weights, my hand didn't want to hold it properly. It's very strange. I still managed to do the exercise, and I had to drop down to a lower weight for most of it, but it was just, one of those infuriating moments where I know I can lift this much, but because my arm is acting up and I can't get a solid grip on this thing, I have to do less, which is not going to improve things as I want to. I don't want to become freaking Arnold Schwarzenegger or anything, but the idea overall is to get in the best shape I can for the age I am with what little I can handle with my own body. Video production-wise, I am still behind, but not behind. I still have next week's video. This is a recurring thing I've said. Next week's video is set, but I need to get more videos done before the trip. That means I need to spend a fair amount of time editing. I have 2 videos recorded, and I want to record 2 more, and I have to edit all of these within less than 2 weeks. That's the real, grind. I was ahead for a while, but the dry week thing sort of messed me up as I hadn't planned ahead for it. I hadn't recorded anything in advance, so I wasn't able to do any major editing during dry week, which, again, it would help if they told me when it was long in advance. I think it's usually halfway through the week before I end up finding out that dry week is going to begin. So I'm kind of screwed. In other news, for those of you who have been here a while, you may have heard of Pizzamas. For those who are still relatively new to hanging out on my Patreon, Pizzamas is something done by the Vlog Brothers every year. It is a week-long event where they help raise funds to help with infant mortality rates in Sierra Leone, which is somewhere in Africa. I always forget where. I am not good at geography either. They have raised a huge amount of money for that, and one of the things I've always liked, for no reason, like a lot of Pizzamas itself doesn't make sense. And I like it that way. I like something that's just like, it's Pizzamas. And everyone goes, what's that? It's like, it's a thing. I have a shirt for it. And the shirt is just one of the brothers. So there's John and Hank. If you're wondering what they look like, that poster behind me in all my videos, that's them. But John has a picture of him with a mustache, which I find hilarious. It's not a great mustache. That's kind of the point. And under his face on every shirt that they make is the word pizza, thus Pizzamas. I've been considering doing a similar idea with either my logo or my actual face if I could figure out how to make the design style that they make for the original. I know it's not overly complicated. I use Photoshop. I should know how to do it. It just requires a lot more focus and thought than I have at the moment. But it would just be, a picture of my face or the logo with the word whiskey under it and nothing else. No explanation at all. I love the idea. And I have actually already made, what do I call this? A rough draft. And I ordered myself a shirt with, my logo on it and the word whiskey under it. So you may see that? Ugh. You may see that show up on camera at some point. It's been printed and should be shipped out within a week. So hopefully I'll have it before I actually go on the trip. That'd be fun. Ah, yes, I forgot. The dram of choice this evening for me is a Penelope bourbon, It's Bourbonite pick that I did a video about a couple weeks ago. I'm revisiting it, and it is around 57%. So I poured myself a fair amount, and that will likely be the only beverage I have this evening. It is already 11 o'clock, and while I'm telling myself you should get some more editing done, I'm kind of tapped out today. I don't really have any major plans tomorrow, other than the possibility of dropping off a few samples to someone who I know at a local restaurant. I don't know how I'm going to make this a short story, but there is a woman who works at a restaurant I frequent. It's within walking distance, called Sakonnet River Grill. Really nice place, and they've been expanding slowly. They actually just took over another location in the, I'm not sure what to call it. But let's just say they were a certain sized restaurant, and then they're on a strip of sorts, a small one, and everything else in that strip has closed. So now they own the entire thing, and the last little bit that was recently closed, I believe it was some kind of like Liberty Mutual or something weird like that. They have taken that room, and it's not very big, but they can fit a fair amount of people in there, and they have a tiny little bar. And I got to see the expansion last time I was there. I'm familiar with Emma. I've talked to her. That's her name, Emma. I've talked to her numerous times. Easy to remember, because Emma was someone who used to work at Crowded Barrel, and now I believe still works in some degree with Balcones. I'm not certain of all that, but the name is locked in, which is a rare occurrence for me. Anyway, Emma from Sakonnet is someone I've talked to numerous times. She's a very gracious host, is the best way I can put it. She has always come up and talk to me. She is always really good with customers, really good at getting stuff done. So there is a mild rapport in that regard. And I told her recently, once I saw that room, I'm like, this would be perfect for a whiskey tasting. And guess what I happen to do? So I'm considering dropping off some samples to her tomorrow, if she's even working. I don't know if she is, but that's something that's in the back of my mind at the moment. And I still haven't even decided on what I will pour for her or what I will pour as samples for tomorrow night's stream, which is another thing that I got rolling around my head. I'm going to have a hard time going to sleep tonight. I can already tell. So plenty of things in the locale, in the works, in my brain, and plenty more that'll be happening once I get to Texas, and plenty more editing that still needs to get done. A lot is happening, and I'm just doing my best not to have all this stuff I need to do backfire on me and burn me out before I have to go to Texas. That is not what I want to have happen. So I'm pacing myself and listening to how I'm feeling as I realize my shoulders are tense because I'm talking into a microphone. trying to remember a bunch of things. But this has been a little longer one, even if I edit it down a bit. So, as always, live long and prosper. Don't forget to be awesome. And I will see you.